Hey, Word Saints. Father Chris here alongside Deacon Greg. Glad to have you beautiful people with us as we begin a new week at our crucifixional live stream. Glad to have all of you Warrior Saints with us. We, excuse me, have a great conversation coming up today. We did a little work, but I want to start, Deacon, I'm going to tell them a story. It's kind of on me, but it really opens up something I think that we as humans need to master. So last week, there was an individual who is a catechumen. What that means, this person is studying, seeking to become an Orthodox Christian, and is going through one of the requirements we have is to go through, study. I mean, catechesis, right? Study, education. So he's in the class, and he's struggling because his work won't let him off. And he's a good dude. I mean, really, I like him, and it's like I was willing to work with him, help figure it out. But he's bold, and he's like, no. I want to fight this. Like, I want to tell work that, like he felt like it was religious persecution. Maybe so. I said, look, I will gladly draft you a letter that says, to whom it may concern, this person is in the class. He needs to be there. It's a requirement that mandatory that we have set. Please, let him come, and we appreciate. The mistake I made was, he caught me at the end of class when it was like, I don't have any, it's at the end of a long day, and it's at the end of class. And you know this, we give 100% when we teach. So I'm empty. I'm probably empty anyways. So I said, do me a favor, reach out to my office tomorrow, and they'll get the letter drafted. We probably even already have a template for it. I said, okay. Well, he did what he said. The next day he reached out to the staff, and they didn't know that I said that to him. Now, keep in mind, and you know this because you drafted it, to all of those people in our catechumen class, you had already sent to them an email that said, it's mandatory, He could have just used that email for, to take to his workplace. Well, I had told him, I'll write you the letter. You had already sent the email out to them. He asked, the staff responded, hey, we've already, sent that email, handle it, right?
Yeah.
And so now where's he? He's like, it looks like we look like a mess.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it did. So, I mean,
yeah. And I mean, I'll take responsibility for my part in that. I didn't know. And I just said, well, we already sent the letter, so just use that letter. And it should suffice. That's my fault.
No, it's not a fault. I appreciate that. The stones to own that. But I bring it up because it's an interesting question. And we just had a staff meeting with our team here to talk about, all right, how do we not do that? To which you came up with the solution to it. And just for all of our beautiful people out there, the solution that Deacon Greg came up was have him send me an email. He wants a letter from me, even if I don't deal with it, even if my assistant beats me to the email and she handles it, at least that way it's coming directly to me and I can say yay or nay and handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And if there's something that you need to deal with directly, send it to you. Don't send it to me, send it to you, and so on.
Yeah.
It's a simple fix. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but the truth of the matter is I made the goof. All of that rambling set up to say this. Let's talk about it. Right. So one of the things we said in our staff meeting, that just because somebody has something on their to-do list does not mean they need to offload it onto my to-do list.
Yeah. Well, using that example that you just brought up, the reason that I just said that, just use the email that we've already written, is I was in the middle of stuff. It came across my desk. Let's just get it done quickly. Quickly in my mind was, you already have an email in your possession that should work for it. So just go for it and use that. I got sucked into what I felt was urgency. And because I had my own urgency, my own to-do list, my own stuff that I was working on, I just jumped and reacted quickly in that moment. Didn't even think through, well, was there another conversation that was had? Maybe we should talk to Father about this. I know you had your own stuff that you were working on, so I didn't want to bug you with something that maybe I should be handling to take it off of your plate. So there's all that stuff that goes into it every time the initial problem starts. And that initial problem is we feel like we're being sucked into somebody else's to-do list just because they have the urgency. They have the need. And they want an answer, and they're standing right in front of you, the way that you're sitting right across from me right now. And so you want to give them the answer right then, right there, and make it happen for them.
Yeah. So I think in what you just said, it gives us a lot of different directions to go today. One of them is the necessity that we have to set boundaries and produce systems so that not even just to keep people off, but so that we don't make mistakes.
Yeah, so that we know what's clear. We know what we're doing, and we have a system so that we know how we're working and functioning and
Right.
doing what we're doing, at least internally in our office.
Absolutely. That's one of them. The other is you've got to learn how to, in setting those boundaries, to say no. Number 3, you brought up a good point. How do you not allow yourself to get drawn into another person's urgency? Like it may be important but not urgent. It may be important and urgent to them. It may be neither important nor urgent to you. You have to figure that out. The other thing is, like, we often we jump. You said it. I think how you said it was, don't jump into everything, right? We have a good one for that. And the other things, like, it's a fallacy. I think that, I have been privy to and plagued with, is that you can do anything, but you cannot do everything, right? Anybody who thinks they can do it all is fooling themselves. If you devote yourself to one, maybe 2 tasks, 2 real goals, you can accomplish them. But when you try to do everything, you're going to make a mess.
Well, especially if you allow yourself to be sucked into other people's urgency, because now you think that your job is to not only do everything, but fix everything for everyone else around you. And, it might come from a desire to help, and it might come from a good place, but at the same time, it's going to drive you a little bit insane. Like I'm dealing with that all over my life.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly being sucked into other people's urgencies, their need for it to be immediate, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is not an immediate thing. It's certainly not something that I have to deal with in the immediate future.
So let's start there. Let's just go after that. The temptation that we all face to get sucked into other people's urgency. Things that matter to them. Do they need to matter as much to us as they do to them? Do they need to matter at all? Maybe they matter more to us than even that person recognizes. And then conversely, we need to make sure we ain't doing that to somebody else, right? I do that all the time. I know I do that to all you guys. Like, hey, do this, fix this. What about that? And I just barge in and, like, I work on it. I know I'm probably the biggest culprit, so probably I'm going to learn more from today's conversation than anybody else.
No, I think I'm going to learn a lot too, because we all have a tendency to Miley Cyrus the situation and then be Miley Cyrus ourselves.
All right, I confess. What's the lyric?
It comes in like a wrecking ball.
Oh, I don't know how I missed that. All right, well done, touche. Yeah, but it does. It comes out of nowhere and just, it's funny. Like, do this experiment, Warrior Saints. Do this with people out there. Trust me, it works 100% of the time. Ask somebody, I'm sorry, what time is it? And they automatically, without thinking, will look at their watch. I do this often to people just to say, look, I don't care what time it is. I just want you to know that I said something and you jumped at it, right? So that's one of the, like, and offer somebody the time when they ask. But my point in doing that experiment is it's an involuntary knee-jerk reaction to respond to what time is it. We do that with how many things, right? Like when people come to us and have questions or need things. And I think you said it right, because we love them. We want to help. We want to fix. That's just who we all are as people. But is that really, is that the right thing to be doing? And if not, we'll talk about it in the rest of the episode. How do we stop that?
Yeah. Well, I think the result of what it leads to is, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, just you and I sitting and chatting, that idea of decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And you're just feeling constantly like you're being pulled in so many different directions. And like all of it is immediate. And so it adds a layer of urgency that you then get sucked into. And then it constantly feels like you're behind, which then makes you feel like you're just needing to just gunsling answers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a mess because none of them are actually thought through. None of them are actually of any value. It's interesting. It reminds me a lot of, in the book of Revelation. And I know we talked about Revelation at the end of last week, and we have that teaching up about Revelation. So it's fresh in my mind. But in Revelation, in chapter 3, where it talks about, I know your works, you are neither cold nor hot. Would that you were cold or hot. Because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew you out of my mouth. And I think of this often, like I'm in my being dragged around to everyone's urgency. I am becoming lukewarm. I'm not just going at anything with my full attention.
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to be dragged, and I'm allowing myself to be, to be dragged. Like
Yeah.
it literally feels like you're being dragged. You're not going where you want to go. And that doesn't feel good. It feels like it feels like you're out of control.
Yeah.
You have no control over your life because everything you're doing is lukewarm.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So let's pick that one apart. I mean, obviously, as well as, you share it with me. We're high on Revelation right now. We just did a teaching on it, and in our Understanding the Bible series, and it's a fabulous book. I mean, it's unbelievably beautiful. And this verse that you cited in chapter 3, lukewarm. He is calling. The author of Revelation, the seer John, is calling, the faithful Christians who are being persecuted. Hey, man, don't get wishy-washy, right? Endure to the end. Maintain your faith, even if it costs you your life. That's what he's saying. So don't get, wishy-washy or lukewarm on it. But I think that and it's an idea we've talked about before. Your faith and the way you act in your faith should be the model for the way you act in the rest of your life. Like, in other words, your MO, I keep using that, your modus operandi on how you maintain your faith should be the model, the template for how you behave with a spouse, behave in the workplace, behave at the gym, and all the rest of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, without question, because faith is an action. Faith is a verb. Faith is something that we put into action. We do and we live. Right. And so how we are with that faith then just becomes how we are with everything that we approach in life and are faced with in life.
So then I guess we can at least get to the conclusion, at least number one, at this point, to say, all right, it is important that we realize as warrior saints, we cannot get sucked into, and like you said, dragged around to other people's to-do lists, and to do so, willy-nilly, without paying attention, we've got to be deliberate, and to use a cliche, term du jour, intentional about what we respond to, what we get involved with, and so on. And maybe in the rest of this episode, we can have a convo through some of those steps, which is probably a good thing. So, I think it's great stuff right there. I mean, it's a great stuff because it sets the question. It poses the challenge that we're trying to overcome. How do we gather a sense of peace in our lives by being not so crazily overwhelmed and jumping into every single person's to-do list? Yeah. I think it's worthwhile. Hey, Warrior Saints. Thanks for joining us. To watch the next part of the episode, join us again tomorrow. And as always, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.